The rain fell like needles against Eleanor's face. She could barely see through the grey wall of water. Her feet slipped in the mud as she pulled the horse forward. The animal limped beside her, favouring its left front leg. Blood mixed with rain on its shoulder, where something had torn the skin. Eleanor's arms shook with effort. Her dress clung to her body, heavy and cold. But she kept walking. She had to. This horse belonged to someone important. If it died, she would be blamed. "Come on," she whispered to the animal. "Just a little further." The horse whinnied softly. Its dark eyes looked at her with something like trust. Eleanor felt tears mix with the rain on her cheeks. Even this wounded creature deserved more kindness than she had known in 5 years. 5 years since her father died and left her to her stepmother's mercy, mercy that did not exist. The stable finally appeared through the rain. Eleanor led the horse inside, her whole body trembling. She had been searching for this animal for 2 hours. It had broken free during the storm and run into the woods. Lady Judith would be furious. Eleanor's stepmother blamed her for everything. The horse belonged to a guest staying at Thornfield Manor, a duke. Eleanor had never seen him, but she knew his reputation: cold, powerful, dangerous when angry. She found clean cloths and began washing the horse's wound. Her hands were gentle, despite their shaking. The cut was deep but clean. She could stitch it if she worked carefully. Her father had taught her about horses before he died, before everything changed. "What are you doing?" Eleanor jumped. She turned to see a man standing in the stable doorway. He was tall and broad-shouldered. Water dripped from his dark hair. His clothes were expensive but soaked through. His eyes were grey like the storm outside. They fixed on her with an intensity that made her step back. I found your horse, sir," she stammered. "It was injured in the woods. I brought it back." The man moved closer. He looked at the horse, then at Eleanor. His gaze travelled over her muddy dress, her tangled hair, her shaking hands. Eleanor wanted to disappear. She knew what he saw: a servant girl, worthless, beneath his notice. "You carried him?" the man asked. His voice was deep and quiet. "I helped him walk, sir. He could not make it alone." "Through the storm?" Eleanor nodded. She did not understand why he kept asking questions. She should be dismissed by now, sent away so someone important could tend to his horse. The man knelt beside the animal. His large hands moved over the wound with surprising gentleness. "You cleaned this," he said. It was not a question. "Yes, sir. I was about to stitch it, if that pleases you." He looked up at her again. This time something shifted in his expression. Eleanor could not name it. "You know how to stitch wounds?" "My father taught me, sir, before he passed." The man stood. He was very close now. Eleanor could see gold flecks in his grey eyes. "Do it," he said. "I will watch." Eleanor's hands shook harder as she threaded the needle. She felt his eyes on her the entire time, but she focused on the horse. Her stitches were small and neat. Her father would have been proud. When she finished, she wrapped the leg with clean bandages. "What is your name?" the man asked. "Eleanor, sir, Eleanor Ashford. I am Marcus Blackwood, Duke of Ashford." Eleanor's blood turned cold. Ashford. He owned this estate. Her stepmother was his tenant. If he was displeased with Eleanor, he could throw them all out. She dropped into a clumsy curtsy. "Your Grace, forgive me, I did not know." "You saved my horse," he said simply. "What is there to forgive?" Eleanor had no answer. She had never met kindness that expected nothing in return. The Duke studied her a moment longer. Then he turned and walked back into the rain. Eleanor stood alone in the stable, her heart pounding. She did not understand what had just happened, but something told her that her life had just changed. She was right. Eleanor woke before dawn, as always. Her room in the attic was cold and small. The roof leaked in 3 places. She had buckets positioned to catch the water. Her bed was a thin mattress on the floor. Her blanket had holes, but it was hers, the only space in Thornfield Manor that belonged to her. She dressed quickly in her one serviceable dress, grey wool, patched many times. It had been her mother's once. Now it hung loose on Eleanor's thin frame. She had not eaten well in years. Her stepmother made sure of that. Downstairs, the kitchen was already warm. Cook smiled when Eleanor entered. "There's my girl," Cook said. She was the only person who showed Eleanor any kindness. "Sit and eat something before they wake." Eleanor ate the porridge gratefully. It was plain, but hot. Cook always made sure Eleanor got something before the family took breakfast. If Eleanor waited, there would be nothing left for her. "The Duke is still here," Cook said quietly. "Staying another week, they say." Eleanor's spoon paused halfway to her mouth. "Why?" "Business with Lady Judith. Something about the lease." Cook's eyes were worried. "You stay out of sight, girl. Nothing good comes from nobility noticing us." But Eleanor could not stay hidden. Her stepmother made sure of that. "Eleanor." The sharp voice cut through the morning air. Eleanor set down her bowl and hurried to the drawing room. Lady Judith stood by the window, her face pinched with displeasure. She was still beautiful at 45, but her beauty was cold. Her daughters, Cecilia and Anne, sat on the sofa. They were younger than Eleanor, but acted as though they owned the world. Perhaps they did. They had everything Eleanor had lost. "You will serve breakfast this morning," Lady Judith announced. "The Duke has requested a private meal in his study. You will bring it to him." Eleanor's stomach clenched. "Me, my lady? Do you question me?" Lady Judith's voice was ice. "You embarrassed us yesterday, running through the rain like a madwoman. Now you will serve properly and show the Duke that this household has standards." Eleanor understood. She was being tested. If she made any mistake, Lady Judith would use it against her. "Yes, my lady." In the kitchen, Eleanor helped prepare the tray. Her hands were steady now. She had learned long ago to hide her fear. She carried the tray up the stairs to the Duke's study. She knocked softly. "Enter." The Duke sat at a large desk covered with papers. Morning light came through the window behind him. He looked tired. Eleanor noticed dark circles under his eyes. She wondered if he had slept at all. "Your breakfast, Your Grace," she said quietly. She set the tray on a small table by the fireplace. "Wait." Eleanor froze. She turned slowly. The Duke was watching her again with that strange intensity. "How is your morning?" he asked. The question was so unexpected that Eleanor almost laughed. No one asked about her mornings. "It is well, Your Grace, thank you. You are Lord Ashford's daughter." It was not a question. Eleanor felt her face flush. "I was, Your Grace. Before he died. Your stepmother has the lease on Thornfield Manor because of your father's service to my family." "Yes, Your Grace." The Duke leaned back in his chair. He seemed to be thinking about something. "Why do you live as a servant in your own home?" Eleanor's throat tightened. She had asked herself this question 1,000 times. "I have nowhere else to go, Your Grace. And Lady Judith was kind enough to let me stay." Kind. The word hung in the air. The Duke's expression suggested he did not believe that kindness had anything to do with it. "Will that be all, Your Grace?" Eleanor asked. She wanted to escape before he asked more questions. before she revealed too much. Yes. Thank you, Eleanor. He used her name. Not girl or you or servant. Her name. Eleanor curtsied and left quickly. Her heart hammered in her chest. She did not understand the Duke at all. He confused her, frightened her, and something else she could not name. The week passed in a strange blur. The Duke stayed at Thornfield Manor. Eleanor saw him every day. He requested that she bring his meals. He asked her small questions about the estate, about the horses, about books she had read. Eleanor answered carefully. She waited for the trap to spring, for him to mock her or dismiss her, or reveal some cruel purpose. But he never did. Instead, he listened. He seemed genuinely interested in her answers. Once, when she mentioned a book her father had loved, the Duke pulled the same book from his shelf. "I read this as a boy," he said. "It was my father's favorite as well." Eleanor saw sadness cross his face. "Your father passed, Your Grace, 5 years ago, along with my wife." The words were simple but heavy. Eleanor understood that kind of grief. "I am sorry," she said softly. The Duke looked at her for a long moment. "I believe you are," he said. On the 6th day, Lady Judith called Eleanor to the drawing-room again. Her stepmother's face was triumphant. Cecilia and Anne smiled like cats with cream. Eleanor knew something terrible was coming. "The Duke has made me an offer," Lady Judith announced. "One that will solve many problems." Eleanor waited. Her hands were clasped so tightly her knuckles turned white. "He has offered to marry you." The words made no sense. Eleanor stared at her stepmother. What? You heard me. The Duke wants to marry you. Heaven knows why. You are 23 and plain and have nothing to offer. But he has made the offer, and I have accepted on your behalf. Eleanor's mind spun. This could not be real. Dukes did not marry penniless girls who lived as servants. "Why?" she whispered. Lady Judith's smile was cruel. "He says he needs a wife, someone who understands loss, someone who knows how to work, someone who will not expect romance or affection." He was quite clear about that. It will be a marriage in name only. A business arrangement. The words struck Eleanor like blows. The business arrangement. Of course. She felt foolish for the small flutter of hope that had risen in her chest. The Duke was not rescuing her. He was acquiring her like he might acquire furniture. "You will marry him in 3 days," Lady Judith continued. "You will move to his estate in Ashford, and you will remember that you represent this family. Any scandal, any failure, and I will make sure you regret it." Eleanor nodded numbly. She had no choice. She never had any choice. That night, Eleanor stood at her attic window and looked at the stars. 3 days. In 3 days, she would marry a man she barely knew. A duke who wanted a wife, who expected nothing. Eleanor had spent 5 years expecting nothing. She could do it for a lifetime if she had to. At least she would be away from here. The thought gave her more comfort than it should have. The wedding was small and cold. Eleanor wore a dress Lady Judith had ordered. It was white silk, beautiful but too large. It hung on Eleanor's thin frame like a child playing dress-up. The Duke wore black. His face was unreadable as he said his vows. Eleanor's voice shook as she repeated the words that bound them together. "I, Eleanor, take you, Marcus, to be my husband." The ring he placed on her finger was heavy gold. It was too big. Eleanor would need to have it sized. She wondered if that was a sign. She wondered if she would ever fit into this new life. After the ceremony, the Duke helped her into his carriage. Eleanor had never ridden in such luxury. The seats were soft leather, The interior smelled of wood polish and something masculine. The Duke's cologne, perhaps. He sat across from her, not beside her. The message was clear. This was not a love match. They rode in silence for an hour. Eleanor watched the countryside pass. She was leaving Thornfield Manor behind. Despite everything, it had been her home. Now she was going somewhere unknown, with a man who was a stranger. "Are you afraid?" the Duke asked suddenly. Eleanor jumped. She had thought he was asleep. "Should I be your Grace?" "Marcus," he said. "You may call me Marcus when we are alone." "That would not be proper, your Grace." His mouth twisted. It might have been a smile. "We are married, Eleanor. Propriety has already been thoroughly ignored." Eleanor did not know what to say to that. She looked down at her hands. The ring caught the light. "You did not answer my question," Marcus said. "Are you afraid?" Eleanor considered lying. But she was tired of lying. "Yes," she admitted. "I do not know what you expect of me." "I expect nothing," Marcus said. His voice was flat. "That is the point. You will have your own rooms, your own life. You will be the Duchess of Ashford in name. You will attend social events when required. Beyond that, you are free to do as you please." It sounded like a gift, but Eleanor heard the loneliness in it. The Duke did not want a wife. He wanted a ghost who would haunt his house and ask nothing of him. "Why did you choose me?" Eleanor asked. Marcus looked out the window. "Because you understand what it is to lose everything," he said quietly. "Because you do not expect me to be something I cannot be. Because you will not demand love I cannot give." Eleanor's chest ached. She understood him now. He was as broken as she was. Perhaps more. At least Eleanor still hoped for kindness, for small moments of joy. The Duke had given up on such things. "I will not demand anything from you, your Grace," Eleanor said softly. "But I will also not pretend I am invisible. I exist. I will live in your house, and I will be myself. If that is acceptable." Marcus looked at her sharply. For a moment, Eleanor thought she had made a terrible mistake. Then something shifted in his expression. "That is acceptable," he said. They arrived at Ashford Castle as the sun was setting. The castle was enormous. Grey stone towers rose against the orange sky. Windows glowed with candlelight. Eleanor had never seen anything so grand. She felt small and lost, just looking at it. A line of servants waited to greet them. The housekeeper, Mrs. Davies, was a stern woman with kind eyes. The butler, Mr. Winters, was tall and dignified. They all bowed and curtsied as Eleanor stepped from the carriage. She was not used to people bowing to her. "Welcome home, Your Grace," Mrs. Davies said to Eleanor. "Your Grace." Eleanor was a duchess now. The thought was absurd. Mrs. Davies showed Eleanor to her rooms. They were connected to the Duke's chambers by a shared sitting room. The bedroom was larger than the entire attic at Thornfield Manor. The bed had a canopy of blue silk. The furniture was polished mahogany. A fire burned in the fireplace. Eleanor stood in the center of the room and felt overwhelmed. "Is everything satisfactory, Your Grace?" Mrs. Davies asked. "It is beautiful," Eleanor whispered. "More than I ever imagined." Mrs. Davies smiled. "His Grace ordered everything prepared specially for you. He wanted you to be comfortable." Eleanor turned to look at the housekeeper. "He did?" He was very particular about the details. The color of the curtains, the books for your shelves, even the soap by the wash basin. He chose lavender because he said you mentioned liking it once. Eleanor's eyes burned with sudden tears. She did not remember mentioning lavender, but she did like it. The Duke had been listening even when she thought no one cared. That night, Eleanor bathed in a copper tub filled with hot water. A lady's maid named Jane helped her wash and dress in a nightgown of soft white cotton. Eleanor had never had a lady's maid. She was not sure how to act, but Jane was patient and kind. "Will you need anything else, Your Grace?" Jane asked. "No. Thank you, Jane." Alone, Eleanor climbed into the enormous bed. The sheets were crisp and clean. The mattress was soft as a cloud. She should have been comfortable, but she felt strange and untethered, like she might float away if she closed her eyes. A knock sounded on the door to the shared sitting room. Eleanor's heart jumped. "Yes? May I enter?" Marcus's voice came through the door. "Yes, Your Grace." The door opened. Marcus stood in the doorway wearing a dark robe over his nightclothes. He looked uncertain. Eleanor had not seen that expression on him before. "I wanted to ensure you had everything you needed," he said. "I do. Thank you." "Mrs. Davies said you chose everything yourself." Marcus shifted slightly.
Was he uncomfortable?
"I wanted you to feel welcome." "I do," Eleanor said. Then, because she was tired of pretending, she added, "Though I also feel very strange, like I am playing a role in a story that is not mine." Marcus stepped into the room. He stopped at the foot of the bed, maintaining proper distance. "This is a strange story for both of us," he said. "I have not had anyone in these rooms for 5 years, since my wife died." Eleanor saw the grief in his eyes. "You loved her very much. I married her for duty. But yes, I grew to love her, and then she was gone." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I did not think I would marry again. But an unmarried duke attracts too much attention. Too many ambitious mothers with daughters to place. This way, we both have peace." Peace, was that what this was? Eleanor was not sure, but she was grateful for his honesty. "Thank you for telling me," she said. Marcus nodded. He turned to leave, then paused. "Eleanor?" "Yes?" "You were kind to my horse. You could have left him in the storm, but you did not. That tells me what kind of person you are." He met her eyes. "I will endeavor to be worthy of that kindness." Before Eleanor could respond, he was gone. The door closed softly behind him. Eleanor lay back against the pillows. Her mind was full of questions, but one thought rose above the others. Perhaps this strange marriage might not be so terrible after all. Eleanor woke to sunlight streaming through windows. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory returned. Ashford Castle, her new home. She was a duchess now. Jane arrived with breakfast on a tray. Eleanor ate alone in her sitting room. She wondered where Marcus was. What did dukes do all day? She realized she knew almost nothing about her husband's life. After breakfast, Mrs. Davies gave Eleanor a tour of the castle. The rooms seemed endless. Drawing rooms and dining rooms and ballrooms and library. Eleanor's favorite was the library. 3 stories of books, surrounded by balconies and staircases. She could spend a lifetime here and never read everything. "His Grace spends much time here," Mrs. Davies said. "He is a great reader." Eleanor filed this information away. Another small piece of the puzzle that was Marcus Blackwood. The next few days fell into a pattern. Eleanor saw Marcus at dinner. They ate together in the small dining room, not the grand one used for entertaining. The conversation was polite but distant. Marcus asked about her day. Eleanor asked about his. They were like 2 strangers being careful not to intrude. But small things began to change. One morning, Eleanor found a stack of books on the table in her sitting room. Novels and poetry she had mentioned loving. Marcus had remembered and ordered them from London. Eleanor ran her fingers over the leather covers and felt something warm bloom in her chest. Another day, she discovered a pianoforte in her sitting room. Eleanor had played as a child before her father died. She sat at the bench and touched the keys. The sound was pure and beautiful. That evening at dinner, she thanked Marcus. "I thought you might enjoy it," he said. Not meeting her eyes, the castle was too quiet. Eleanor began playing every afternoon. Sometimes she thought she heard footsteps in the hall outside her room, but when she looked, no one was there. In the garden, Eleanor found peace among the roses. She walked the paths every morning, breathing in the sweet scent. One day she found Marcus there. He stood by the fountain, staring at the water. He looked lost in thought. "Sad. I did not mean to intrude," Eleanor said, starting to leave. "Stay." Marcus's voice was quiet. "This was my wife's favorite place." Eleanor stopped. She moved closer, but kept respectful distance. "It is very beautiful." He planted most of these roses herself. Marcus touched a white bloom. "She loved growing things. I have tried to maintain it as she would have wanted." "I am sorry you lost her," Eleanor said. "It must be very painful to be here." Marcus looked at her in surprise. "Most people tell me I should move on, that 5 years is long enough to grieve." "Grief does not follow a schedule," Eleanor said softly. "I still grieve my father, my mother, the life I thought I would have. Time does not erase loss. We just learn to carry it." Marcus stared at her. Something shifted in his expression. "You understand," he said. It sounded like wonder. "Yes," Eleanor said simply. They stood together in the garden as the sun climbed higher. Neither spoke. But something had changed between them. A wall had cracked, just slightly. That night at dinner, Marcus asked Eleanor about her childhood. Real questions, not polite ones. Eleanor found herself talking about her father, about the horses they had loved together, about her mother's laugh. She had not spoken of these things in years. It hurt. But it also felt like relief, like pressure releasing from a wound. "Your stepmother should have treated you better," Marcus said when Eleanor finished. His voice was hard with anger. "She did what she thought was necessary," Eleanor said. Though she did not really believe it. No. She was cruel because cruelty made her feel powerful. There is no excuse for it. Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes. She had waited 5 years for someone to acknowledge what had been done to her, to say it was wrong. Marcus saw her tears. He stood abruptly. "Forgive me. I have upset you." "No," Eleanor said quickly. "You have done the opposite. You have seen me, really seen me. Thank you." Marcus's expression softened. He looked like he wanted to say something more, but instead he bowed slightly. "Good night, Eleanor." "Good night, Marcus." She used his name for the first time. He noticed. She saw it in the way he paused at the door, in the small smile that touched his lips before he left. Days turned into weeks. Eleanor and Marcus grew more comfortable with each other. Their dinners lasted longer. Their conversations grew deeper. Marcus told Eleanor about managing the estate, about his responsibilities, about the loneliness of his position. Eleanor talked about books and music and her dreams of seeing the ocean someday. "We could go," Marcus said one evening, "to the coast, if you would like." Eleanor's heart skipped. "Really? You are my wife. Your happiness matters to me." Something in his tone made Eleanor look up sharply. Their eyes met. The air between them felt suddenly charged. Marcus cleared his throat and looked away first. But Eleanor noticed, and she wondered. One afternoon, Eleanor was playing the pianoforte when the door to her sitting room opened. Marcus stood there, his expression hesitant. I heard you playing, he said. May I listen? Of course. Marcus sat in a chair near the window. Eleanor's hands trembled slightly as she resumed playing. She was aware of his eyes on her. She chose a piece her mother had loved, something soft and sweet and a little sad. When she finished, silence filled the room. Then Marcus spoke. That was beautiful. Thank you. Eleanor turned on the bench to look at him. Did your wife play? No. But my mother did. Before she died when I was young. Marcus's voice was rough. I had forgotten the sound. You have given me back a memory I thought I had lost. Eleanor's throat tightened. I am glad. Marcus rose and moved closer. He stopped beside the pianoforte, near enough that Eleanor could see the gold flecks in his grey eyes, near enough to feel his warmth. Eleanor, he said, I want to thank you. For playing? For being here, for not demanding more than I can give. For your kindness. For, he paused, seeming to struggle for words, for making this house feel less empty. Eleanor's heart pounded. Marcus was so close. She could reach out and touch him if she dared. You have been kind to me as well, she said softly. Kinder than anyone has been in a very long time. Their eyes held. Eleanor saw something in Marcus's gaze that made her breath catch. Want, need, longing. Then he stepped back, breaking the spell. I should return to my work, he said. His voice was formal again. Eleanor nodded, confused and disappointed. Of course. But that night she could not sleep. She kept seeing the look in Marcus's eyes, kept feeling the pull between them. This was not supposed to happen. This was a marriage of convenience. A business arrangement. She was not supposed to feel anything. But she did feel something. Something that grew stronger every day. Something that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. She was falling in love with her husband. And she had no idea if he felt the same. The morning brought an unexpected visitor. Eleanor was in the garden when Mrs. Davies found her. Your Grace, Lady Judith is here. Eleanor's blood ran cold. Her stepmother. Here. Why? She says it is a family visit. Mrs. Davies's tone suggested she did not believe that. Eleanor followed the housekeeper inside with dread in her stomach. Lady Judith waited in the drawing room, examining the furnishings with a critical eye. Cecilia and Anne sat beside her wearing expensive new dresses. They looked at Eleanor with barely concealed disdain. Eleanor, Lady Judith said, How lovely to see you. You look well. The lie was obvious. Eleanor had gained weight and colour since coming to Ashford Castle. She was no longer the half-starved girl her stepmother remembered. Lady Judith did not like it. Lady Judith. Cecilia. Anne. This is unexpected. We were in the area, Lady Judith said smoothly. We thought we should see how you are adjusting to married life. Eleanor gestured for them to sit. She ordered tea, trying to calm her racing heart. What did her stepmother want? The answer came quickly. The Duke is very wealthy. Lady Judith said, and you are his Duchess now. Surely he would not mind helping your family. Cecilia needs a new wardrobe for the London season. Anne requires music lessons, and I have some debts that need settling. Eleanor's hands clenched in her lap. You want me to ask my husband for money? He is family now, Lady Judith said. Her smile was cold. Family helps family. You treated me like a servant for 5 years, Eleanor said quietly. You took everything my father left me. You made me sleep in the attic and eat scraps. Now you want my help? Cecilia gasped dramatically. How dare you speak to mother that way? She is ungrateful, Anne added. After everything we did for her. Lady Judith's eyes narrowed. Careful, Eleanor. I can make your life very difficult. Gossip spreads quickly in society. One word from me about your past, about how you lived, and your reputation will be ruined. The Duke will be humiliated. Is that what you want? Eleanor felt panic rise. Lady Judith was right. Society was cruel to women with scandalous pasts. If people knew Eleanor had lived as a servant, had cleaned floors and tended horses, they would mock her, mock Marcus for marrying her. What is happening here? Everyone turned. Marcus stood in the doorway. His expression was cold and dangerous. Eleanor had never seen him look so intimidating. He radiated power and barely contained anger. Lady Judith rose smoothly. Your Grace, how wonderful to see you. We were just having a pleasant visit with Eleanor. It did not sound pleasant, Marcus said. He moved to stand beside Eleanor's chair. His hand came to rest on her shoulder. The touch was possessive and protective. Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes at the simple gesture of support. Lady Judith was asking for money, Eleanor said quietly, and threatening to spread gossip if I refuse. Marcus's hand tightened slightly on Eleanor's shoulder. He looked at Lady Judith with contempt. I see. How interesting. Your Grace, I am sure there has been a misunderstanding, Lady Judith began. No misunderstanding, Marcus interrupted. You came here to extort my wife, to threaten her with the very past you created by your own cruelty. Let me make something clear, Lady Judith. You will leave my home immediately. You will never contact Eleanor again, and if I hear even one whisper of gossip about my wife, I will personally see to it that you and your daughters are blacklisted from every respectable home in England. Do I make myself clear? Lady Judith's face turned white, then red. You cannot threaten me. I am a duke, Marcus said softly. I can do whatever I like. Now leave, before I have you thrown out. Cecilia and Anne jumped to their feet. Lady Judith gathered her dignity like a cloak. This is not over, she hissed at Eleanor. Yes, it is, Marcus said. Guards, escort these ladies out. Make sure they are not admitted again. 2 footmen appeared. Lady Judith and her daughters were led from the room. Eleanor sat frozen, unable to believe what had just happened. Then her body began to shake. All the fear and anger and relief crashed over her at once. Eleanor. Marcus knelt beside her chair. His hands took hers. Are you all right? You defended me, Eleanor whispered. You sent her away. Of course I did. She was cruel to you. I will not allow anyone to hurt you. Eleanor looked into his eyes. Why? This is just a business arrangement. You do not have to protect me. Marcus's jaw tightened. Is that what you think this is? Still, is it not? Marcus stood abruptly. He paced to the window, his back rigid. When he spoke, his voice was rough with emotion. When I married you, I thought I wanted distance, safety, someone who would not demand my heart because I believed my heart died with my wife. But then I watched you walk through my house. I heard you play music that made me remember joy. I saw you laugh with the servants and tend the roses and read by the fire, and I realized something. He turned to face her. His expression was raw and vulnerable. You brought my house back to life, Eleanor. You brought me back to life. I did not think I could feel this way again. I did not want to. But I do. God help me. I do. Eleanor's breath caught. Marcus, I love you, he said. The words seemed torn from him. I have tried not to. I have told myself it is too soon, too foolish, too dangerous, but I cannot pretend anymore. I love you, and the thought of anyone hurting you makes me want to tear the world apart. Tears streamed down Eleanor's face. She stood on shaking legs. You love me? Yes, but I am no one. I have nothing to offer you. Marcus crossed the room in 3 long strides. He took her face in his hands. You have given me everything, he said fiercely. You have given me hope, laughter, peace. You have made me remember what it feels like to live instead of just exist. You are not no one, Eleanor. You are everything. Eleanor sobbed. I love you too. I have tried so hard not to. I thought this was just convenience. I thought you did not want my love. I want it more than my next breath, Marcus said. His thumb wiped away her tears. I want you, Eleanor, not as a duchess, not as a convenience, as my wife, truly, in all ways. Are you certain? Eleanor whispered. I am broken, damaged. I have nothing. You are not broken, Marcus interrupted. You are strong. You survived cruelty that would have destroyed others. You remained kind when you had every reason to be bitter. You are remarkable, Eleanor, and I am honored that you are mine. Eleanor reached up to touch his face. Her fingers traced the line of his jaw. I never thought anyone would see me the way you do. Then everyone else is a fool. Marcus leaned down slowly, giving Eleanor time to pull away, but she did not pull away. She rose on her toes to meet him. Their lips touched gently at first, then deeper. Eleanor felt the kiss all the way to her soul. It was promise and possession and homecoming all at once. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. Marcus rested his forehead against Eleanor's. I love you, he said again, as if he could not say it enough. I love you, Eleanor whispered back. My husband, my wife, Marcus said, my heart, my home. They stood wrapped in each other's arms as afternoon light spilled through the windows. Eleanor felt something inside her heal, something she had thought was broken forever. She had spent so long believing she was worthless, unwanted, but Marcus saw her, really saw her, and he loved what he saw. That night, Eleanor did not sleep in her own rooms. She slept in Marcus's bed, wrapped in his arms. They talked through the darkness about their pasts, their fears, their dreams. Marcus told her about his first wife, about the guilt he had carried for loving Eleanor. Eleanor told him about her darkest days at Thornfield Manor, about the times she had wanted to give up. I am glad you did not, Marcus whispered into her hair. I am glad you kept fighting, because it brought you to me. I am glad too, Eleanor said. She felt safe and warm and loved. For the first time in 5 years, she felt like she had come home. The next 3 months were the happiest of Eleanor's life. She and Marcus were inseparable. They walked in the gardens every morning. They rode horses through the estate. They read together in the library, often with Eleanor nestled against Marcus's side while he worked through correspondence. They made love with tenderness and passion that left Eleanor breathless and amazed. The servants noticed the change in their master. Marcus smiled more, laughed more. The dark shadows under his eyes disappeared. He was lighter somehow, as if a great weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Eleanor blossomed too. She gained curves and colour. Her clothes fit properly now. Mrs. Davies ordered new gowns in beautiful colours. Eleanor discovered she loved fashion when she was not wearing hand-me-downs or rags. Marcus loved seeing her in silk and satin, but he told her every night that she was most beautiful in the morning, sleek, tousled and wearing just his shirt. They hosted their first dinner party as a couple. The local gentry came to Ashford Castle to meet the new Duchess. Eleanor was terrified, but Marcus stayed by her side all evening. He introduced her with pride. He made sure everyone knew she was to be treated with respect. After the guests left, Eleanor sagged with relief. I think it went well. You were perfect, Marcus said. He pulled her into his arms. They all adored you. They were all watching us, Eleanor admitted, trying to figure out if this is a real marriage or a business arrangement. Marcus smiled. Well, we should probably give them something to talk about. He kissed her in the entrance hall where any servant might see. Eleanor laughed against his lips. Your Grace, this is scandalous. I am scandalously in love with my wife, Marcus said. Let them gossip about that. But not everyone was happy for them. The trouble came from London. A letter arrived from Marcus's cousin, Lord Whitmore. He was Marcus's heir, since Marcus had no children. The letter dripped with false concern. Lord Whitmore had heard rumours about the Duke's hasty marriage to a nobody. He suggested that Marcus had been taken advantage of, that Eleanor was surely after his fortune. Marcus threw the letter in the fire. Ignore him, he told Eleanor. Whitmore has always resented that I inherited the title instead of him. But more letters came from Whitmore, from other family members, from old family friends, all questioning Marcus's choice, all suggesting that Eleanor was unsuitable. Some were cruel enough to mention her time as a servant. Somehow the gossip had spread. Eleanor felt the old insecurities creep back. She began to wonder if she truly belonged at Marcus's side. She was a duchess, yes, but she did not have the breeding or training. She made mistakes with etiquette. She did not always understand the complex politics of the aristocracy. One evening, Marcus found her crying in their bedroom. Eleanor, what is wrong? I am ruining your reputation, she sobbed. Everyone is talking, saying I am unsuitable, that you should have married someone better. Marcus pulled her into his arms. I do not care what they say, but your family, my family can go to hell if they cannot accept you. Marcus's voice was fierce. You are my choice, Eleanor, my only choice. I would give up the title, the estates, everything, before I would give you up. Eleanor looked up at him through her tears. You cannot mean that. I have never been more serious. Marcus kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. I love you, that is all that matters. But the pressure continued to build. Lady Whitmore, the cousin's wife, came to visit. She was a fashionable woman with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. She examined Eleanor like a merchant examining faulty goods. So you are the new Duchess, Lady Whitmore said over tea. How interesting. Marcus always did have odd tastes. Eleanor kept her composure. It is kind of you to visit Lady Whitmore. I had to see for myself. The rumours are quite shocking. They say you were a servant in your own home, that you tended horses and cleaned floors. Lady Whitmore's smile was cruel. Surely that cannot be true. It is true, Eleanor said quietly. After my father died, my stepmother needed help managing the estate. I did what was necessary. How practical. Lady Whitmore's tone made it sound like an insult. But surely you understand that being a duchess requires more than practicality. It requires breeding, education, grace, things one cannot learn from cleaning floors. Eleanor felt her face flush, but before she could respond, Marcus entered the room. His expression was thunderous. Lady Whitmore, how delightful to see you spreading poison in my home. Lady Whitmore stood quickly. Marcus, I was just getting to know your charming wife. You were just leaving, Marcus said coldly, and you will not be welcome here again. Tell my cousin that if he has concerns about my marriage, he can come tell me himself. But I suspect he is too much of a coward for that. Lady Whitmore's face turned red. How dare you? Get out, Marcus said. Now. After Lady Whitmore left in a fury, Eleanor turned to Marcus. You just made an enemy of your family. They made an enemy of me when they insulted you. Marcus pulled Eleanor close. Stop worrying about what people think. We have each other. That is enough. But that night, Eleanor could not sleep. She slipped out of bed and went to the library. She needed to think, to figure out how to protect Marcus from the scandal their marriage was causing. She was reading by the fire when Marcus found her hours later. "I woke and you were gone," he said. "I was worried." "I am sorry," Eleanor said. "I could not sleep." Marcus sat beside her. "Talk to me." Eleanor set down her book. "What if they are right, Marcus? What if I am not good enough for you?" "Not good enough?" Marcus sounded angry. "Eleanor, you are the best person I have ever known, but I do not know how to be a duchess. I make mistakes. I embarrass you. You have never embarrassed me." Marcus took her hands. "You have made me prouder than I have ever been. Do you know what people say about us? They say I smile now. They say Ashford Castle has come alive again. They say the Duke is happy for the first time in years. That is because of you, Eleanor. You did that. But your family can accept you or be cut from my life. It is their choice." Marcus cupped her face. "Eleanor, listen to me. I need you to understand something. I was dead inside before you. I went through the motions of living, but there was no joy, no hope, no light. You gave me all of that back. You made me remember what it feels like to love, to laugh, to live. You are not inadequate. You are everything." Eleanor felt tears spill over. "I love you so much. I am just afraid of losing you." "You will never lose me," Marcus promised. "Never. I am yours, Eleanor. For the rest of my life. Nothing and no one can change that." He carried her back to bed and made love to her slowly, tenderly, until Eleanor forgot all her fears, until there was nothing but the two of them and the love that bound them together. The crisis came 2 weeks later. Lord Whitmore arrived at Ashford Castle with a group of family members. They demanded a meeting with Marcus. Eleanor tried to excuse herself, but Marcus held her hand tightly. "You stay," he said. "This concerns you." In the drawing room, Lord Whitmore stood like a prosecutor delivering a verdict. He was a tall man with cold blue eyes. "Marcus, we are concerned. This marriage of yours is causing scandal. People are questioning your judgment, your leadership. Some are even suggesting you are not fit to manage the estate." "Let them suggest what they like," Marcus said calmly. "You do not understand." Lord Whitmore's voice rose. "There are rumors you have been bewitched, that this girl has used some kind of influence over you. People remember her father. They know she has nothing, no family, no connections, no breeding. She is completely unsuitable." "Careful," Marcus said softly. "You are speaking of my wife. Your wife is a servant." Lord Whitmore shouted, "You married beneath you in the worst possible way, and now you are ruining the Blackwood name because you are blinded by lust or pity or God knows what." Eleanor flinched. Every word struck like a physical blow. She had known this was coming, had known her past would be used against her, but hearing it spoken aloud still hurt. Marcus stood slowly. His face was white with fury. "You will apologize to my wife immediately." "I will not," Lord Whitmore said. "Someone needs to speak truth to you. This marriage is a disaster. You should annul it. Send the girl away with enough money to keep her comfortable. Then marry someone appropriate. Someone who will not humiliate you. You want me to cast aside the woman I love because she does not meet your standards." Marcus's voice was deadly quiet. "I want you to remember your duty to this family. My duty is to my wife." Marcus moved to stand beside Eleanor. He took her hand and raised it to his lips. "Eleanor is the Duchess of Ashford. She will remain the Duchess of Ashford until the day I die. Anyone who cannot accept that is no longer welcome in my life or my home. That includes you, Whitmore. All of you." Shocked silence filled the room. Then Lord Whitmore laughed bitterly. "You are willing to lose everything for her? Your family? Your position in society?" "Yes," Marcus said simply. "I would lose it all and count myself fortunate as long as I have her." Eleanor's throat closed with emotion. She squeezed Marcus's hand, unable to speak. "You are a fool," Lord Whitmore said. "But if that is your choice, so be it. Do not come crying to us when this decision destroys you." "I will not," Marcus said. "Goodbye, Whitmore. I wish I could say it has been a pleasure, but we both know that would be a lie." Lord Whitmore and the other family members left in a fury. When the door closed behind them, Eleanor turned to Marcus. "What have we done? You just lost your family." "I lost nothing important," Marcus said. He pulled Eleanor into his arms. "They chose to leave. I chose you, and I would make the same choice every time. But society will follow my lead or be damned. I am a duke, Eleanor. I have power and wealth and influence. If I say you are worthy, then you are worthy. Anyone who disagrees can stay away from my home and my life." Eleanor buried her face in Marcus's chest. "I do not deserve you." "You deserve everything," Marcus whispered. "Everything." That night, Marcus wrote letters to every important figure in society. He made his position clear. Eleanor was his duchess. She had his complete love and support. Anyone who insulted her insulted him. He would not tolerate gossip or cruelty. The letters caused a sensation. Some people were scandalized, but others were intrigued. A duke defending his wife so fiercely was romantic, unusual, interesting. Within a week, Eleanor began receiving invitations. Ladies called to introduce themselves. Everyone wanted to meet the Duchess who had captured the cold Duke's heart. At first, Eleanor was terrified, but Marcus was always by her side. He made it clear that she was under his protection, and slowly Eleanor began to relax. She made friends with some of the ladies. She discovered that she was good at the social aspects of being a duchess. She was kind and genuine, and people responded to that. Months passed. The scandal faded. Eleanor and Marcus became known as one of the great love stories of their generation. The Duke, who came back to life for love. The Duchess, who saved him from his grief. One evening, Eleanor stood in the rose garden at sunset. It was her favorite time of day. Marcus found her there, as he always did. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Eleanor leaned back against his chest. "I was remembering the day I found your horse in the storm. If I had not gone looking for him, we might never have met." "I would have found you somehow," Marcus said with certainty. "Fate would have brought us together." Eleanor turned in his arms to face him. "Do you believe in fate?" "I believe in you," Marcus said. "I believe in us. I believe that some people are meant to find each other, no matter how impossible it seems." "I love you," Eleanor whispered. "More than I have words to express." "I love you too," Marcus said. He kissed her as the sun set behind them, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. "You carried my horse through the storm, Eleanor, and in return I will carry you through every storm life brings, for the rest of our lives." "Promise?" Eleanor asked. "Promise," Marcus said. "You are my home, my heart, my everything." They stood together in the garden as stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Eleanor thought about how far she had come, from the attic at Thornfield Manor to the arms of a duke who loved her beyond reason, from believing she was worthless to knowing she was treasured. She had carried a wounded horse through a storm, never expecting anything in return, But that small act of kindness had changed everything. It had brought her to Marcus, and Marcus had given her a life she never dreamed possible. A life full of love and laughter and joy. A life where she was valued and cherished and safe. A life where she finally belonged. Eleanor smiled against Marcus's chest. She had found her home at last. Not in a grand castle or a title or fine clothes, but in the arms of a man who saw her, really saw her, and loved everything he saw. That was worth more than all the wealth and position in the world. That was everything.